All right, what up, Who That Nation? This is No Cap, No Filter Saints. I'm your host, Marley G, back at y'all on the episode of Running With You. And today we got to run about this tweet I made on Twitter that, some people had some disagreements with me on it. And, I'm going to go ahead on and get right into it. I basically was talking about Jordyn Tyson. And I had said that Jordyn Tyson is so important because he is the first electrifying offensive playmaker we took in the first round since Reggie Bush. Mind you, this was on a day where Reggie Bush 20 years ago was drafted to the Saints, so the Saints Twitter handle was kind of paying homage to Reggie Bush, honoring him and thanking him for everything he's done. I'm like, cool. I was thanking Reggie, too, a lot of people became Saints fans, after Reggie Bush. Like, if it's from people from Texas, people from California, people from Georgia. That's when a lot of people started jumping on the Saints bandwagon outside of New Orleans and Louisiana, areas. Reggie Bush was the one who did that, not to mention Drew Brees, Sean Payton, and I basically was just saying that, we also entered a new era with a head coach and a quarterback that built a solid foundation of winning culture. Hopefully history repeats itself. So basically, Sean Payton, Drew Brees came together, new head coach, good free agent in Drew Brees signing that we got, and we drafted Reggie Bush. Like, Reggie Bush was like an electrifying draft player that we drafted. And, we haven't seen that a lot, coming from, being a Saints fan and just getting a high profile player such as a Reggie Bush, that has so much, offensive playmaking ability, could line them up anywhere in the backfield, put them in a slot, played for a big school. It was just, different for a Saints fan, when we had selected him. When the Saints passed up on him and took Mario Williams, that was a big deal. Like, if plus it was, after Katrina. So it was, a huge shift in the fan base, when all that came together. We went to the NFC Championship. Reggie caught that pass. He was doing the little walk it out in the end zone. We lost that game, but we knew we had something. And I'm basically just saying Jordyn Tyson is so important because we entering this other new era now with Kellen Moore coming here, young offensive guru, just like Sean Payton. Hopefully he, followed them same type of footsteps, but in his own way. And we got Tyler Shuck, that great hope that we just looking for since Drew Brees. Like, we didn't been through Trevor Siemian, we didn't been through Jameis Winston, we didn't been through Spence Rattler, we didn't been through, dare I say, Derek Carr. I don't even want to speak his name. He like Voldemort around here. But we got a lot of hope and a lot of stock in him, and we trying to go all in, and we gave him Jordyn Tyson. Like, we passed up on the Caleb Downs. Like, we need offensive firepower. We trying to put points on the scoreboard. We trying to get in the end zone. We trying to have something exciting for the Saints fans. And I basically said that, and everybody was like, hold on, hold your horses. We just signed Olave. Hold on, hold your horses. Mark Ingram was a Heisman winner. Hold up. Hold your horses. Who else they said? Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, he was electrifying too. I said, okay, let's go ahead on unpack all this. Let's go ahead on and talk about all this. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So basically, let's go ahead on and start with Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram, Heisman winner. When we drafted him, a lot of people was like, it kind of like caught us off guard. Like, damn, we drafted Mark Ingram. Like, it was like, what? Like, okay, well, cool. Let him come here. He won the Heisman in Alabama. He did his thing. We got us another running back. Let's go ahead on and see what we could do. His expectations was high. That's why when he first came to the Saints, he started off kind of slow. Like, it took Mark Ingram years for him to develop into the productive running back we seen. So after having production from Pierre Thomas and guys like that, when we got Mark Ingram, it was like, okay, we trying to see when you gonna just have that click come, because sometimes players, they get that click and then everything just start coming. And it took a while for him, but the expectations wasn't as high as a Reggie Bush because Reggie Bush had that playmaker home hitting ability. Reggie Bush could line up and you could take him and put him in a slot. Reggie Bush could get sent on a swing pass and take that thing to the house. home run hitting playmaking ability where you got to account for him on every single play and keep defensive coordinators up at night. So that take Mark Ingram out the equation. Mark Ingram ain't come here and had a whole bunch of new Saints fans come to the Saints. Reggie Bush did that. Reggie Bush still got fans with a Reggie Bush jersey in their closet right now. You know, Reggie Bush is the reason a lot of new Saints fans became a Saints fan. Let's go ahead on and move to, we're going to go ahead on and get to Cooks. Brandon Cooks. We first got Brandon Cooks. Everybody was, excited. We seen the highlights. We seen him, make players miss. We seen him, have house calls, go deep. We seen all this. So his expectations was high, but not like Reggie Bush. He didn't have that alpha type of fear in a 1A type of wide receiver that, you would fear. Basically, when you play against a Jamar Chase, you got that fear. You got that fear that, man, I hope Jamar don't go for 200 on us. When you play against an Antonio Brown, you got that fear. Man, I hope Antonio Brown will have his way with us. I remember Antonio Brown had his way with us. Y'all remember that game? Pittsburgh versus the Steelers, almost the same as Odell, the type of game when it was the Giants versus the Saints. You just know it's certain players, man. You just like, man, you hoping he don't really just go off for us for like 250 or 2 touchdowns, because it is possible. Drake London, for example, good receiver, but he don't put that fear in you like Julio Jones did. Even though Julio Jones ain't have good success against the Saints, but I'm just talking about in general. Julio Jones was that type of guy that you would, you had to get your popcorn ready, and you had to come with your lunchbox because he gonna put you to work. So Cooks, I don't think defensive coordinators was just up all night tossing and turning, worried about how to stop Brandon Cooks. I just don't think that. You put him in the press, you jam him up, you probably could deal with him. But he was a productive receiver. Everywhere he went, he got 1,000 yards. He did his thing. Not taking that away from him. I'm just talking about that 1A alpha dog wide receiver. And it ain't just about the size, because they had Steve Smiths. They had smaller guys who could really put that fear in you, but there were a few and far in between. Let's go to Olave. Now, a lot of people were saying Olave. We just drafted Olave. Olave, I look at him as a tactician. I look at him as a solid, sound wide receiver. I look at him as a dude that's gonna route you the fuck up. And don't get it twisted. Olave could take the top off. Olave could go deep, but Olave don't possess playmaking ability. How many times we even seen the offensive coordinator try to use Olave like he Debo Samuels? Olave not gonna make you miss like that. Olave just gonna get the ball. He gonna try to outrun you, and that's gonna be it. But he not gonna try to make you win. He ain't about to juke you out your shoes. He ain't about to spin off you and be like, oh, fuck off me. He ain't about to do none of that. He ain't got that type of playmaking ability. If anything, Garrett Wilson got that over Olave. And that's one of the reasons I wanted Garrett Wilson at the time over Olave. But I was like, cool, we got Olave. He got hands. He gonna be able to route you up. He's silky smooth. Cool. But I don't think Chris Olave, is a 1A type of wide receiver. And on top of that, I don't think he's putting fear in defensive coordinators and, opposing fans when we play them. He's not the type of wide receiver that's going to take over a game. And we won because of Olave. If Olave was that good or whatever, he wouldn't be having all these questions if he's a 1A in the first place. Now let's get to Jordyn Tyson. Jordyn Tyson different. Jordan Tyson has that it factor. Jordan Tyson can line up anywhere. He could play the X. He could play the Y. He could play in the slot. He could play all that. He could beat you in intermediate. He could go over top. He could make you miss. He could stiff arm you. He could spin off you. He got breakaway speed. He got home run hitting ability. That's one of the biggest things that people always go back and forth with Olave. And I mean, not Olave, Alvin Kamara and what's his name? Shit, I always forget people's name, man. Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey had the home run ability speed, and that's what I'm just saying. Like, it's a difference between having expectations, but having certain expectation because you supposed to be that guy that's gonna take your offense over the top. You know, when the Bengals got Jamar Chase, those fans knew this a guy that could take our offense over the top. Because you could just see it. You could just see it. You got that it factor, and that's all I was saying. And I think Jordan Tyson possesses that. I think Jordan Tyson gonna definitely have defensive coordinator up at night, especially with Olave on the other side, especially with a Jawan Johnson a compliment in the middle, especially with Oscar Delp, especially with Itty A Chain in the backfield, and you got to worry about him too. Like when you got all these other pieces, it's gonna be that much more harder to stop Jordan Tyson because now you can't just key in on a Jordan Tyson like how you could just key in on a Michael Thomas because Michael Thomas was damn near the whole offense by himself and he was still producing. And now for anybody who's saying Michael Thomas was a second round pick, and even as a second round pick, he didn't have a lot of expectation coming in. And if you was expecting him to do what he did, you a bald faced lie because nobody ain't think Michael Thomas was gonna be as good as he was. Still my favorite wide receiver and one of my favorite Saints players to this day. You know. Now, as far as Reggie Bush, man, Reggie Bush, the expectations he had, I think he kind of lived up to it. He just ain't never, get that 1,000 yards under us, but he was still getting a lot of all-purpose yards, punt returns, kick returns, rushing, catching the ball out the backfield, doing all that as that X factor, opening stuff up for other players, and it's kind of funny because they swapped like, well, no, yeah, Alvin Kamara, he was the same. He didn't get them 1,000 yards, because he was doing a lot of catching the ball out the backfield and stuff. So, but we know that Alvin Kamara had ability to get 1,000 yards and rush for him, but it just never happened. Never happened for Reggie either. But we seen Reggie go do that when he played for I think the Dolphins or the Lions, one of the two. But all I'm saying is, bro, Jordan Tyson is different, bro. Jordan Tyson, he possessed playmaking ability that is going to have defensive coordinator trying to scheme to stop him. He got the ideal size. He's a guy that could take your offense to another level. Now, granted, he has to be healthy. We all know this. But if he's healthy and we don't really see no signs of him, missing a step, from in college, I think he's going to be the guy that could take our offense to the top. I think he could be the guy that's going to take Tyler Shuck to the next level. And I think he could be making this offense a force to be reckoned with. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's a difference between being electric, but it's a difference between being electric and pose that fear as a number 1A wide receiver. That's all I'm saying. And it's just like the Eagles, man. They had Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is a good, productive wide receiver. But you put somebody like A.J. Brown on that offense, that alpha one, and that offense goes over the top. We seen how it helped out Jalen Hurts. Kellen Moore, he was a part of that offense. Dallas Goedert, they saying he comparing it to he got comparisons from Oscar Delp getting comparisons to Dallas Goedert. So I think that getting Jordan Tyson is definitely going to make a difference. The same way with the Panthers. You put Ted McMillan on that team, helps out Bryce immediately. You put Rico Dowd on that team, helps out Bryce immediately. And they went to the playoffs. And they wouldn't no easy out. So Jordan Tyson, A-Chain, maybe it could be the same for us. That's all I'm saying. But I want to know what y'all think down in the comment section below. And do y'all agree with me? Do y'all disagree? Let me know. But we're going to get into the Saints draft picks in the first round since Reggie Bush. Let's go. Just so we could just have a little rundown. Okay, so bam. In the last 20 years, our first round picks have been, well, since Reggie Bush. Let me see. Saints first round picks since Reggie Bush. All right. Well, I'm gonna just go ahead and just do it since 2014. All right. So since 2014, we had Brandon Cooks, not on the same level. Then in 2015, Andrews Pete, he's a guard. Sheldon Rankers, he's a defensive player. Marshawn Lattimore, he's a defensive player. Ramczyk, he's an offensive tackle. DeMarcus Davenport, defensive defensive end. 2019, we ain't have no picks. Cesar Ruiz, he's a center. Peyton Turner, he's a defensive end. Then we got Chris Olave. Already spoke on him. Trevor Penning, he's a tackle. You know, and the rest of that was just trench players or no pick. And before Brandon Cooks, it was Mark Ingram. You know, and some people will even say Robert Meacham. Robert Meacham ain't had no type like a Reggie Bush. So all I'm saying, this is why Jordan Tyson is so important. But let me know if y'all agree with me. Leave your comments down in the comment section below. Am I tripping? Leave your comments down in the comment section below and tell me why. Until next time, I'm out, man. Who that?